Hi everyone, my name is Amanda and welcome to my channel. For those of you who are new, welcome. I do random videos, reviews, and vlogs as a 20-something-year-old trying to figure out life, so feel free to subscribe if you are not already. This is a video I've been wanting to do and I just didn't know when I would do it. I definitely knew I wanted to share my experience with you, and I think with recent events this week, this is the week that Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain both committed suicide. I just felt like it was time. And although I've just experienced mostly anxiety, I just kind of want to share that anyone can experience anxiety, depression, addiction, or any other mental illness. I also want to thank Zoella for opening up and using YouTube as her platform to kind of share her experience with anxiety like years ago. So I'm very grateful that she spoke up about it, and that's kind of encouraged me to do the same. Also, I'm still learning about anxiety and panic attacks, so please excuse me if I am using terminology wrong. And just to let you know, I think this is going to be a very long video. I have a lot to share, but I hope this is really helpful for you. So I kind of wanted to share about my experiences with anxiety and panic attacks, and I wanted to share what exactly happened when I went through those. Sorry if I forget something. I didn't like write out everything, but I'm just going to try to do it based off memory, and if I forget something, if I forget a detail or anything, I will probably write it down and fill it in this video. I've actually been experiencing anxiety and panic attacks for a while, and I just didn't know I was until last year. So I first experienced my first panic attack when I was 13. Up until last year, I didn't know that this is what I was going through. I hope this video really spreads awareness to these symptoms and these experiences. And you might be wondering, like, how did you not know that you were experiencing anxiety and panic attacks? I'll kind of touch on that later, but I honestly thought that these things just randomly happened to me at that time. But yeah, I will go through in detail like what exactly happened. So the first time was when I was 13. I was getting my ears pierced for the very first time, and I was super excited but also very nervous because needles like freak me out, shots freak me out, and like I knew that it was going to be like a needle type of device piercing my ear. So I had a lot of mixed feelings of excitement and nervousness, and now I know that it was anxiety. I get so nervous sometimes depending on the situation, and this was one of those times. I just had so much nervousness and pressure built up in me that I guess it caused a panic attack. So I went into Claire's, got my ears pierced. I was clenching my hands so tightly during the whole process, and once it was done, but like I was releasing the nervousness because it was all over, but at the same time it was still like all bottled up. Everything started going to black and white. Like my whole vision was starting to blur. I was starting to get like a little woozy, dizzy. I barely remember like going to the cash register to pay with my mom, and my mom was there with me the whole time. I don't remember anything from the cash register to taking the escalator down to the mall parking lot. So that's like all. I don't remember anything, but I do remember like opening my eyes on the escalator and like everything was black and white. Everything was super blurry. I was really like dizzy, and I was totally like holding on to my mom. I was like even maybe leaning on her because I was just like my body was just kind of shutting down. I felt like just very like weighed down. I just like barely made it to the car, and I think maybe I fell asleep or maybe I fainted. I just don't remember the car ride home at all. But then again, I don't really remember a lot of things. So yeah, that was my first panic attack, I think, and possibly fainting. I don't know. My mom said that she doesn't remember me fainting on the way to the car. So I guess I was just kind of mindlessly like walking, but honestly I feel like I was a zombie. So yeah, those are kind of the symptoms of my panic attacks. The next time it started happening was in college. So there was one time in college when Kurt and I were getting sushi in Slough, our college town, and we ordered this huge sushi boat to share because, you know, we were really hungry and really ambitious, and we totally thought we could finish it ourselves. I don't know why. It just kind of happened all of a sudden. I don't know what I was nervous about or having anxiety about, but for some reason I felt claustrophobic or just stuck for some reason. I had to like go outside. I had to get fresh air. I think maybe it was just warm or something. It was just overly warm in there. I went outside for fresh air and then I came back in and I started feeling it again. Like I started feeling like kind of dizzy and things were getting a little, black and white. So I went outside again and poor Kurt had to like take it to go like all by himself because I wasn't feeling good. And I just like couldn't go back in there without feeling it again. I don't know what it was. Going back in there kind of put me back in that position where I started feeling the anxiety. And so every time I went back in, I kind of had like deja vu and I kind of just automatically felt the same way as the first time. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but there was just no way I could stay in that restaurant and eat a whole dinner. Like, so we took everything to go and left. The second time that I fainted was at a club. In college, we were back home in San Francisco for the weekend, I think, and I was hanging out with my girls, and Kurt was there, luckily. We were just having a good time. By this time, I knew that I could not handle a lot of alcohol. I knew I was very lightweight, and so I just took a sip of one of my friends, I don't even remember what these drinks are called anymore. The green one, the Midori Sour, I think, yeah. So I just took a sip, like a small gulp, not even half of the drink. I was having a good time. We were dancing on the dance floor, and all of a sudden I just felt like claustrophobic, very warm. I think I walked to the bathroom, but there was a line. I don't remember. I just felt the feeling of not being able to escape. It was so hot in there. There were people everywhere. That was just claustrophobic for me. Then I started getting anxiety. Everything started kind of blurring. I started not being able to walk straight. I was just very woozy. I think being a lightweight and knowing I couldn't really take alcohol, in my mind that little sip felt as if like I drank the whole Midori Sour. In my mind I was convincing myself that I could not handle that little sip of alcohol and that like, oh my god, it's gonna make me throw up. Oh my god, like I'm gonna get so sick. All these different thoughts entered my head and I just started freaking out. I met with my friends and I started losing my balance. In my head, I think I was just like, oh my god, I can't escape. I can't get out of the club because they won't let me back in if I leave. So I have to stay here, but I need fresh air. And just like all those thoughts and emotions were like overcoming me and I fainted. When I faint, I don't feel it. Like I don't feel pain when I faint. Like I don't feel the pain of like hitting the ground, which is interesting. I wonder what it looks like when I faint. But anyway, my friends and Kurt were there for me. They were there when I woke up. They were freaking out, worrying about me. They thought I blacked out. And so for a few years, I thought that I was just so allergic to alcohol that it made me black out. But when I think back to it, I'm pretty sure it was a panic attack because of all my thoughts that night of just feeling like I couldn't escape and I was worrying about throwing up. I was worrying about getting sick. That's just all anxiety to me. And so I got kicked out of the club. So all my friends and Kurt left with me. Actually, I might have fainted twice because I remember waking up the first time and I was on the stairs with my friends all around me. I must have fainted again because the next thing I knew, Kurt was carrying me out of the club on his shoulders. So I think we just got kicked out at that point. But yeah, I might have fainted twice. So yeah, that was quite an experience. I have like barely drank ever since then, just because I don't want those thoughts to overcome me, and also I don't really enjoy it anyway. That's also not the first alcohol related time that I've felt anxiety. Any time since then that I've had like a sip of alcohol or anything. I even freak out when there's like wine in my pasta, you know, because I love like cream or wine sauce or like any pasta. I love any pasta. So whenever it has like a wine sauce or whatever, I see that on the menu and I like kind of have a mini freak out in my head. If I eat this, will I get anxiety and will that lead to a panic attack? Sometimes I even avoid those dishes because I'm just worried that I'm going to have a panic attack or faint because I know there's alcohol in it. Another time I was with my cousins and I think I had like a little bit, like another sip, and the same thing happened again. It was also very dark, so it was, you know, obviously it's really dark in the club, and that's where I fainted. I think the sushi restaurant was a little bit on the dimmer side, but not super dim. I don't know. It was like not really bright, but it also wasn't super dark either. I think the fact that there was alcohol and it was in a dim location, those two paired together were just not a good combination. So when I was with my cousins, we were at Cheesecake Factory, and you know it's like really dark in there. And I think I had a sip of alcohol, like very small. All those mental thoughts kept coming again. Like, what if what happened at the club happens again? What if what happened at the sushi restaurant happens again? So I kind of got stuck in my own thoughts and anxiety about the situation that it just kind of conquered me. I had to leave and step out for a breath of fresh air a couple times. I even told Kurt how I was feeling. I think he was nearby, and so he actually picked me up. Luckily I didn't faint, but I was getting fresh air for a lot of the dinner. Yeah, it's hard to explain. Like, the more I thought about the possibility of fainting, or the more I thought about anything happening that happened in the past, gave me more and more anxiety, and it kind of just like was a snowball effect. Like, the more that I thought about what could happen, it would happen. That's just how anxiety hits me. Last year was another time that I fainted. So if you saw my laser hair removal video, you know I was really nervous to get that done. Anything with pain, I have such a low pain tolerance, like I get so nervous. And I've never done waxing before. I didn't know what pain felt like anywhere on my body, and so I was very nervous. I was excited to, you know, start the process, but I was also way nervous about the pain. And I watched a lot of YouTube videos and people would talk about the pain, and that would just kind of make me even more nervous. So going into my first appointment, I was super nervous. I was clenching. Luckily, the technicians there are super nice. They knew it was my first time, but it was very similar to the ear piercing experience. So I went in, I clenched through that the whole time, and I got through it perfectly fine. All that built up anxiety and nervousness, it just like is bottled up in my body. And even though I got through the session, you know, even though I survived, just somehow I just like came crashing down. They give you like Vaseline and Aquaphor to put on those areas that you got lasered. So they leave the room for you to do that and for you to get changed and everything, and then you can leave. I think I was going to, and then it started hitting me. Everything started blurring. Everything became black and white. And so I knew I needed water, and they do sometimes have water in the lobby. So I walked out in my robe because I knew I needed either fresh air or water, and I'm not gonna go outside in my robe, like almost naked. So I needed water. So I went to ask the receptionist for water, and by then it was too late. I think I was in the middle of talking to her and asking for water, and then I just collapsed right there. And they were like freaking out. I woke up and they were there, the technician and the receptionist, I think, and you know, they gave me like a snack, they gave me water. I also didn't eat that much that day, so I had low sugar, low energy. It wasn't until then I was talking with the technician, and she said, "Have you ever experienced panic attacks?" And I was like, "I don't think so." And she's like, "I kind of think this was one because, you know, you said you were really nervous and that can sometimes happen." And then I started thinking, like, I was panicking about the pain and I did faint. So that night I started looking into panic attacks, and I'm like, that's what I've been experiencing. Like, it took me years to figure out, like over 10 years to figure out that I experienced panic attacks. That kind of just allowed me to retrace back all those experiences that I just mentioned and point those back to anxiety and panic attacks. So now I know what I experienced. Like, one other experience that happened since then had to do with massive flies. So I hate bugs. Anything. I hate bugs. Insects, whatever. So I live kind of close to the garage, so sometimes bugs will fly in from the garage and make their way towards my room and stuff. This time it was like a time where like flies were like all over the place. I'm not even talking about like these tiny little flies. Like, I'm talking about like big, massive flies that buzz. Like you could hear them. They're so loud. And so one time I think there were like two in my living area, and like I could just hear the buzzing, and it, you know, when they get close to your ear, it's like really freaky to me. And I can't stand it. So I think I just started feeling trapped, like I couldn't escape them because I was by myself. I'm not gonna kill them. I'm just so scared. I hate killing bugs, and I just can't do it a lot of the time. They really freaked me out, and I had so much anxiety. Like after those two were killed, I felt like, okay, I'm fine. But like the next day, another one shows up, and like I started getting a lot of anxiety going to the bathroom because that's where they would hang out, and that's where I would always find them. I just felt like I couldn't go to the bathroom anymore. Like I was so scared because I didn't want to face another fly. I didn't want to hear the buzzing in my ear. Like it's just, it sounds so lame, but like it really freaks me out. Literally did not use my bathroom for like a week or two because I just had so much anxiety about it. I just couldn't deal with it. So yeah, that's another time that's happened. I guess I'll talk about like how it affects me now. I still get anxiety depending on the situation. It happens a lot on planes or boats or on like when I take the streetcar here in the city, because when it goes underground I just feel more trapped. It mostly happens because like on the plane you can't just go out and get fresh air, and on a boat I'm prone to motion sickness, so I just have a lot of anxiety that I'm going to get sick, I'm gonna start throwing up, and it's going to be embarrassing. And then on the streetcar, like when you're underground, it just feels like you could get stuck at any time. Sometimes they have gotten like stopped before in underground between stops, and like there's nothing you can do about it. So I mean that doesn't happen often, but that's happened like once, like years ago when I was taking it one time, and I didn't have anxiety back then. But knowing that that's a possibility, that could actually happen at any time, freaks me out. I haven't fainted since my laser hair removal experience, but I do have a lot of anxiety about fainting. Like I'll worry that I'm going to faint, and then that builds up anxiety. I also worry that I'm going to get sick, that I'm going to throw up like on boats or cruises or whatever, and it just snowballs into a lot of anxiety whenever I have any type of alcohol. So, you know, and pastas, that kind of freaks me out. That sometimes gets in my head, and like I overthink about it, and I just overthink that I'm going to faint because I have a little bit of wine in my pasta. I even couldn't really go to darker or dimmer restaurants or places for a while because that's where a lot of my fainting and anxiety experiences have been. So I just freak out when I'm in that type of place. If I do go to one, sometimes I really have to distract myself from thinking about it. We avoided sushi restaurants for a little while after that incident at the sushi restaurant, which is crazy, and it sounds so dumb and lame, like it's just a sushi restaurant, but because it's happened there before, it like overcomes me, and I think that it could obviously happen again. Similar environment, I worry that a similar consequence is going to happen. Now I kind of want to talk about what calms me down, or what I do to prevent panic attacks or anxiety from getting to me. So fresh air, taking deep breaths really helps me try to get out of it, and water. Drinking water, staying hydrated kind of like, you know, refreshes me. About a year ago, my friend Kim recommended a book called When Panic Attacks, so I bought that, and I only read a couple chapters, or you know, like the very beginning of the book, but it really opened my eyes to different ways that I could take myself out of that situation with all the anxiety and bring me into a better place. So I don't know if I recommend that book. I mean, it did kind of help me, but I haven't like gotten through it all, but it might be worth taking a look at. Another big one that helps me get over anxiety and prevents panic attacks is distracting myself. Whether that means looking at Instagram, listening to music, watching a show, closing my eyes. Like on the plane, sometimes if it's turbulent and I'm freaking out that I'm gonna get sick and then I can't escape, I'll close my eyes and just rest, or just fall asleep, like let myself nap my way out of it. I think lately I've been trying to take myself out of that situation with all the anxiety and bringing myself into a better situation. So for example, like I just took a boat cruise with my coworkers, and I was really close to declining because I was worried that I'd have so much anxiety that I would get sick and faint, and I don't want to faint in front of my coworkers. But this was a cruise around the bay. Like, it's a very rare opportunity to do with people at work. So I was really struggling about going, and I just didn't want to get embarrassed if I fainted. When I realized that no one else was backing out, I decided to force myself to go. And I took Dramamine, I wore my C-bands, which help prevent motion sickness, but it was still a little bumpy. So I started getting anxiety. I started freaking out, you know, that, oh no, I really am gonna get sick despite like all the things that I'm doing to try to prevent motion sickness. So I step outside of the boat, and there's, you know, an area where it's outside where you can, you know, have fresh air, where you can just be outside and look at the views and enjoy them. And the way that I handled it was I just took videos. I took pictures. I tried to take myself out of thinking about getting sick and all that anxiety, and brought myself to a place where I could try to enjoy the moment and try to enjoy the views. Distract myself by, you know, recording everything or taking photos. You know, I started thinking like, oh, this could be a video that I could share on YouTube, and like if I compile it together, it could be like a cool little like boat cruise review or experience or whatever. So I changed my mindset and focused on that goal of like documenting my whole experience and enjoying the views, that I kind of got away from worrying about getting motion sick. That's kind of a technique that I'm trying to do more often, is trying to be more positive about the situation, or just distracting myself completely and get myself out of it. Kind of want to talk about how it was like telling my then boyfriend, but now fiance, and my family about, you know, what I was going through. I had a huge struggle sharing it with them, and I think not that many people that we know experience mental illness or anxiety, so I honestly didn't think I would experience it. It was kind of hard to explain to them what I was going through and for them to comprehend, you know, what I was saying. And I think that's one of the major struggles, is that it's hard to explain what we're going through. It's hard to explain the reasoning behind it, because sometimes they're dumb reasons, like, you know, the flies buzzing like freaks me out. Or, you know, I took a tiny sip of alcohol. It doesn't make sense, and that's why it's hard to explain to people who don't experience it. And so I did struggle. I think people's first reaction might be to be like, that's not it. Like, you're not experiencing that. You're just, you know, making it up. I tried to explain it more, and I tried to show them why it's happening, and they started to comprehend what I was going through. So they all know that I experience it from time to time, and they understand when I need to, you know, take a break from dinner and step outside for fresh air. They'll, you know, let me do my own thing and be there for me. It is a struggle sharing the experience with people, but I think that's the reason why I'm making this video. I'm trying my best to share my story because I want to raise awareness that this could be happening to anyone. You just don't know. It could happen to the happiest of people. It could happen to the most chill people. You just don't know. And I kind of just wanted to help people understand it more. You know, for those of you who are watching who have never experienced anxiety, I know it might not make a ton of sense, but I hope you took something from it or understood a little bit more about anxiety or panic attacks after watching this. And for those who do experience these things like I do, or anything else, I just want to share because I want you to know that you're not alone. Yeah, whatever you're going through, whether it's anxiety, whether it's depression, panic attacks, whatever it is, you are not alone. And you can feel free to message me on, you know, Instagram, Twitter, leave a comment, whatever. I'm here for you. If you need someone to talk to, or if you want to just ask questions, feel free to find me on Instagram or Twitter and direct message me there privately. I'm so happy to help or be there for you. And you know, if you feel like you're so alone that suicide is the only option out there for you, please, please go to this number, because you are not alone. I am here for you, and other people are there for you. I just want people to be saved, and I I can see why people may feel like they're alone. You might not have like a support system around you or people that you can talk to about these things, but please call for help. I just hate seeing people feel so isolated to the point where like they only see one option. And so I just really hope this video helped you. I know it was super long. I am not sorry because I wanted to share my whole story, and I hope that some of you relate to me, and if not, I hope that you learned something from this video. And yeah, feel free to reach out, comment down below if you have some tips for overcoming anxiety or panic attacks, or leave a comment about, you know, what you're going through, because then it'll kind of show that other people are going through the same thing and that you're not alone. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this helped you understand anxiety better, or panic attacks better, or any type of mental illness. I just hope you remember that I'm here for you, and that is it for this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.